YouTube, how we doing? This is my first video back from the Vegas event, my first video in Snapshot 7, and I couldn't be more excited to be here with you guys today. Before I go on, I just want to give a massive, huge shout out to Midnight Society, Rob Bowling, for not only bringing me along in the journey with the DCM project, which is High Octane Capture the Flag, but also being able to work with Midnight Society just a little bit behind the scenes at the event. It was tons of fun, got to meet a lot of the team, and I love every single one of you guys. So that was a ton of fun. But back to my DCM, huge honor to be a part of that and to open up a video game and see your name plastered on the front. Man, crazy, eternally grateful, that's for sure. Never in my life would I have ever had dreamed that I would be a part of something like this, but hey, here we are. So with all that said, let's get into what today's video is all about. Yesterday, Rob Bowling held an AMA, which was packed full of great information. And on the surface, I was kind of listening, but I was also streaming it, so I was trying to, entertain my chat at the same time. But I went back this morning and I listened to it, and there was some really juicy stuff inside of there. So I want to go through that, and I want to point out just the important stuff, and there's no particular order to this. I listened to it, I took some notes, I wrote them down. Some of what he said was really good, really juicy. The first thing that Rob went through is the new era of Midnight Society and how now we're in the refinement stage. And then he spoke about the first two stages. The first stage was from the announcement of Deadrop to Snapshot 2 roughly, and that's what he called the foundation stage. That's where he talked about introducing PvP, voice comms, the first weapons of the game. And then the second stage was the expansion stage, expanding on environments and weapons. And he also mentions that the first two phases were the hardest part of development. Then he went on to talk about the refinement stage a little bit. He talked about how the focus is on art, visuals, lore, and granular details, focusing on that for the next year until launch. That is when the voting feedback comes. That was something that I wrote down in my notes. Immersion of the Deadrop world. So we're really going to start to see them really crank down on the fine details. I'm really excited to see what happens with the art and see what kind of magic Darren Bacon puts together. Super excited about that. And then someone asked about the traversal of getting from the bottom sector all the way to the top seamlessly without, any kind of floating screens, those sorts of things. And Rob answered that sector to sector gameplay is very much the plan. The first step that he mentioned was to get the first 3 sectors connected together and playtest those. He went on to say that testing Unreal Engine will be key. And he also mentioned that, we're all familiar with battle royales and extraction shooters that are very horizontal. If you think about Warzone and Apex, those sorts of games. I think he was hinting that there's not a lot of vertical games that, you're focused on vertical gameplay. So that's kind of a new test for Unreal Engine. He didn't seem too worried about it. Going back to the 3 sectors that he mentioned, I imagine, I don't know this for a fact, but I imagine that the 3 sectors that he's pointing out there is, obviously Sector 3, and then you've got Proving Grounds 2 and Proving Grounds 3. That's the only thing that I can think of is they're gonna try to mold those together, get those fit together, and then we're gonna be able to play test that eventually. So that's pretty cool. And then he talked about the Midnight Ride. Now the Midnight Ride will be thematic to each sector. The ride to the lobby might be very different from the highest sector, which I thought was really interesting. If you think about how to get up to the high one, are we talking flying vehicles, helicopters? I don't know. He didn't confirm anything there, but he goes on to talk about the verbiage of the vehicle gameplay was very strategic, not just cars. And then he also mentioned that smaller vehicle for agility and speed would be possible. So I'm thinking some kind of motorcycle of some sort. Who knows, right? We may see different kinds of vehicles, not just cars. That's very obvious. Don't know if we'll be flying, but we'll definitely see some different types of vehicles in there. He did mention that there will always be a midnight ride, but what you're riding and how you get there, might change in future sectors. So that's really exciting. Then he went on to talk about the different game modes. And what I mean by that is the high risk, high reward game modes, pretty much VES. You know, certain legendaries can be lost. He mentioned that about like your legendary guns. Obviously, that's part of the gameplay loop there. But then he mentioned that certain items like the cosmetics that you wear on your character cannot be lost. Like they're not in your bag, they're on your body, so you're not losing those items. So that's kind of cool to hear. I don't like the thought of losing my cosmetics. I like to look good and wear what I want to without worrying about losing those items. And then he talked about DCMs, how they're the low risk modes where you keep all your loot. And then he mentioned one thing that they're wanting to test out is going into the extraction mode, possibly losing your items. Let's say you had a legendary AR that you lost, but you would still have that AR, that legendary AR, in your player hideout, and you would also have it in DCMs, so that you would be able to show off that, hey, at one time I had this gun, which is, it's a cool thought. I'm definitely interested to hear more about that. And then he went on to talk about the progression systems just a little bit. He mentioned the Series 0 Battle Pass that's coming the first season of Deadrop. We already knew that this was coming. Everyone who is a founder or who owns a tower key will have access to this. They've already got it. And he also mentioned that at this time, at this very moment, it is a 100 tier Battle Pass. But that could change in the future. They're still working through that. This is where things got really interesting because I specifically asked about Lis Scripting, and I wanted to know where we were at in the development of that, because we heard about that before, but not real sure when that's coming. Is it coming soon? Is it coming in the next snapshot? Is it coming 2 snapshots later? He said that it'll be coming in a future update. This is where we will be able to upload scripting to custom game modes that will change features, details, and rules of the games. It's supposed to be in Snapshot 7. I've got that wrote down, but the UI and the security work scope was too big for the team. And he mentioned that he hopes to get it out in a future patch before Snapshot 8. He said it wouldn't take that long, so it's something exciting that we can look forward to. Before Snapshot 8, it's very possible that we'll be able to get into the scripting, be able to tweak the game modes pretty significantly, which I'm really excited to see. And as he was talking about this stuff, he goes on to talk about the creator tool. The creator tool will come after this kind of update to UGC eventually. It's a custom Unreal editor that you'll be able to import your skins and your maps, author and validate custom models, anything that would be required to work with the animation system. This is where you're going to be able to do it in the creator tool. So if you want to make sure that a weapon that you made works with Tux animations, for example, that is where you would validate those items. And then he said the next step was obviously the marketplace, where you would be able to buy and sell skins. That's going to be huge for a lot of people, a lot of creators out there that have already been working on it. Shout out OMA. I see you, dude. I'm very excited to see what you do. And then I know there's a lot of people that are concerned about console. When is it coming to console? I can't imagine being a console player right now, standing on the outside looking in at this project. I would go nuts. But he did state that it's like the #1 thing that's on his list right now. He's trying his hardest to get the console verification, and that's a major focus for the studio right now. Unfortunately, there's not much more of an update. He's working his butt off to get that done. Don't know when that's going to happen, but hopefully for your guys' sake, hopefully it's soon. Someone then asked about Proving Grounds 3. As we know now, it is in the DCM modes, but it is not in VES at all, and they were wondering if that would ever come to the VES. And Rob goes on to say PG3 won't be coming to the VES mode soon. It's not developed into a full sector yet. So what you're seeing in the DCM modes, it's just not complete. He went on to explain that it's not going to come to VES until it is a full-fledged sector. And then he went on to define what a full-fledged sector was. And he said that it needs to support unique extraction points, cleaners, connection to the other sectors, and a shutdown mechanic. So not until that point where it is considered a sector, they're not going to bring it to VES, which is really interesting because I don't think Proving Grounds 2 has a shutdown mechanic or cleaners, but it's in VES. So I don't know, who knows there. And you know how I mentioned that they're looking at 3 sectors being pushed together and working seamlessly. Well, he went on to explain that Proving Grounds 3 won't get introduced into VES until that happens. So I would say don't look for Proving Grounds 3 to be introduced really anytime soon. Hopefully Snapshot 8 we'll see some cool stuff. Maybe that's high hopes for me, but it may not be until Snapshot 9 until we see those 3 sectors, you know, fully integrated together. And then there's crates, and if you're remotely close to the project, you know that these crates have been a hot topic here recently. But he actually admitted that MS is looking at earnable crates, which is a huge win in my book. In-game challenges that give you keys to crates, they're looking at that. They're also looking at earning items directly versus earning keys to unlock existing crates. You know, if you think about like doing a challenge in game and then getting that item directly, or do you complete a challenge and receive a key and then you're able to get a crate? Those are 2 very different things, and they're kind of exploring both of those options there. This is a good moment for me to stop and pause and just remind you guys, this is in a pre-alpha state. Things change. Like, they're just testing stuff. This is, you know, I see a lot of people get upset about what's going on and they don't like this, they like this, and man, we're still so early in this thing. Let's just chill, you know? Let's chill a little bit. Things are gonna change down this long road we're on. And I thought this was a really good question here. Somebody asked about the lengths of snapshots. You know, are we ever gonna go back to 6-week snapshots? And Rob kind of chuckled and was like, nah, no, we're never going back to that. You know, if you think about the refinement stage, this new era of Midnight Society, Rob went on to say that arting out sectors is going to take a long time for them. Big content drops and features are going to come on these snapshot drops, but they're not going to wait for big snapshot releases for the smaller items. So they're going to push out smaller updates. If it doesn't break anything, if it's not rushed or it's not a big deal that's going to, you know, alter things greatly, they're going to push it out in a patch or an update. They're not going to wait on a snapshot, which to me, man, that is huge. That's huge news. So we're going to begin to see this shift in the snapshots where, you know, Snapshot 8, Snapshot 9 might end up being huge drops, but right in the middle of that, we may see a patch here or there that introduces some new features that aren't really major things, but just cool little patches and updates to the game. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's in those small little patches. And then going back just really quickly, someone asked some stuff about UGC. He just quickly noted that eventually you'll be able to build everything in UGC. So you'll be able to build a weapon, which is huge. I don't know if I really realized that we would be building weapons in the game. Levels, characters, create basically whatever you want. You'd be able to basically build it in Blender or Photoshop and then put them in the creator tool and then submit it to publishing for them to verify to make sure that everything works. That's crazy. The more that I hear about UGC, the more my content creator wheels keep turning. And I think, man, someone could dedicate their content and their channel just to UGC content. And I think it's going to be huge. I really do. I think it's going to be massive. And then he kind of talked about some skill-based matchmaking a little bit. He's touched on this before. I have specifically asked Rob directly about skill-based matchmaking and what his opinion was. And his opinion that he told me back, I don't know, 6 months ago or so in an AMA is that skill-based matchmaking is pretty much impossible to throw into an extraction shooter, right? If you think about a battle royale or an arena shooter, there's one common goal, and it's to win, right? Well, you can win in Deadrop, but there's going to be multiple routes to play, basically. Multiple ways to play. You know, some people want to play it like a battle royale and be the last person standing and get the Deadrop, which is totally fine, right? That's part of the gameplay loop. Maybe you're just doing a quest and you want to get this specific item, and then you got to get out, or maybe you just need to build up your loot and sneak around and not really focus on anybody and just get out. Maybe you're getting in and you want a high kill game. That's what's so cool about Deadrop, is that winning is kind of a blurred line. Yeah, getting the Deadrop, ultimately you are the winner of that lobby, but really if you got out and you got what you needed out of a quest or a reward, did you really lose? I wouldn't say you lost. You won. You did what you needed to do. So that line of winning gets blurred, and it's really hard to introduce skill-based matchmaking on that. With all that said, the end goal of matchmaking is basically, he said that you're not going to get matched to skill levels, you're going to get matched to what people bring in. So if you go in naked, you're going to get matched up with a lot of naked people. It's kind of weird to say out loud. Sounds like a party though. I'm in. If somebody's fully stacked and you're fully stacked and the whole lobby's fully stacked, that lobby is going to be a whole lot different than a totally naked lobby. So I thought that was really interesting. I think that's a cool way to match people up in the matchmaking. You know, if someone comes in totally naked versus someone that's fully kitted, I can see how there's some imbalance there. So really interesting to think about. And the last thing that I'll touch on is he talked about competitive and ranked and how those are two separate things in his eyes. He talked about the competitive side. He thinks that that's going to be more of a DCM mode that esports will pick up. So think kind of arena shooter, Halo, Call of Duty, that sort of thing. That's where my mind went when he mentioned that. And then separately from that competitive mode, you would have a ranked mode that's VES, and you know, that's where you can get super sweaty and build up your rank from there. It really seems like Midnight Society is trying to figure out a way to bring every kind of playstyle, every kind of player into Deadrop and let them enjoy the game how they want to enjoy the game. You know, you've got the casual DCM modes, you've got a potential competitive DCM mode, you've got regular VES, and then possibly a ranked VES. I mean, the opportunities are endless as far as any kind of player that you are. Maybe you're a super sweaty player and you want to play the competitive side of things. Maybe you're a casual and you don't want to do any of that and you just want to have fun. Man, the opportunities are abundant and very exciting to see him talk about that. And that's all I'm going to touch on today. I could probably go on for another 20 minutes, but if you wanted to hear me ramble about it for 20 minutes, you may as well just go watch the AMA. I recorded it on my stream from last night, so you can go watch that VOD. It's at the very beginning of the stream. Within like 20 minutes, that's when Rob starts speaking. So it's 100% worth listening to. Just from that AMA alone, I am stupid excited to see what Midnight Society brings to Deadrop. I know Snapshot 7 just got here, but I'm already in Snapshot 8. Like, oh man, what are they cooking up for, 3 months from now? I think we're in for a heck of a 2024. Obviously, there's going to be a lot to talk about within the coming weeks of Snapshot 7. There's tons of info to go through, tons of gameplay stuff that has been introduced. Obviously, the DCMs that have been introduced. So just be prepared. I'll be streaming. I'll be pumping out videos. And hey, if you like this kind of content, if you're excited about Deadrop, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. And hey, I'll see you on the next one.